Good evening and welcome to a program devoted entirely to Lefties Losing It. And let's start with a musical flavour, and it seems that leftism destroys everything. Even the biggest superstars like Beyonce and Katy Perry have become figures of ridicule in 2025. Let's start with Katy, who, fresh from pretending to be an astronaut, is now being mocked for her cringe performance in her latest concert tour. Did she leave any discernible talent she had in space? I mean, imagine paying good money to see this. Now, she never had much of a voice, but if that's how she dances nowadays, I think we can give the concert a miss. You can't auto-tune whatever that was. Now, I do wonder, where did it all go so wrong for Katy? Perhaps it was on election eve last November when she posted this.
Hi guys, I'm with one of my favorite senators. This is Kamala Harris. She's gonna be, well.
Or perhaps it all went pear-shaped when she posted this on election day. It's her and Orlando Bloom chumming it up with Kamala and Doug. Oh dear, now poor Katy is reduced to a punchline, and she's not alone. Pop stars don't come much bigger than Beyonce. But then she went all Kamala on us. Remember that woeful speech she gave at a Kamala rally when people thought she was going to perform? They thought they were going to get a free concert. Instead, they heard Beyonce mention a bunch of suburbs in Texas.
Texans and Houstonians from 3rd Ward, River Oaks, Sugar Land, 5th Ward, A-Leaf, Memorial, Southwest Side, North Side, all the way down to Mo City.
And now no one wants to go to her concerts. Daily Mail's headline reads, Beyonce mercilessly mocked as tickets for flop Cowboy Carter tour reached the same price as a McDonald's meal. Yes, she's slashed ticket prices by more than 70% and still having trouble moving them. Now, to round up our little musical interlude, let's check in with these charmers. I played this clip for you when it happened. Here is Kneecap at Coachella singing Maggie is in a Box, a song about the late, great Margaret Thatcher. Well, they've gone from that degeneracy to this. Now Kneecap are openly praising the savage mass murdering terrorists of Hamas. Oh yes, you heard right. They just praise Hezbollah and Hamas. And they have the simpletons at a music festival cheering for the type of people who slaughtered youngsters just like them at the Nova Music Festival.
The Palestinians have nowhere to go. It's their fucking home, and they're bombing them from the skies. If you're not calling it a genocide, what the fuck are you calling it?
Now, if the left didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. And here is another prime example. This is Andrew Whisman claiming that Trump being targeted with bogus charges in a shocking case of lawfare. Well, that was a great day for America because it proved no one is above the law. But when an activist judge breaks real laws, well, their arrest is a violation.
He is being treated no better or worse than anyone else. This is not selective prosecution, that this is not somebody who's singled out, that he is being treated just like anyone else. That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what the Justice Department is really signaling and messaging here, is that everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally in this country. This is really a great day for America. So there has been a violation here that we know for sure, and it is not the judge. Right, exactly. You don't do it. Even if you thought that there was a ground for doing this, the judgment call that you thought that this is the case to bring, it tells you everything. There is no adult in the room who would have said, "Are you kidding me? Why would you possibly do this?" And the answer is because we want to send a signal to the judiciary, and that's what you shouldn't be doing.
And isn't it funny how the notion that nobody is above the law disappears when leftist activist judges break laws? And these are real laws, not trumped-up charges used to stop a political candidate from winning office. Remember when Russian collusion hoaxer Rachel Maddow was all about no individual being above the law? Wonder what's changed.
Nobody's above the law. We only have one system of law for everyone. Nothing about being an elected official gives you a license to commit crimes or a license to get away with it if you do. Why step up politically and defend a judge or a prosecutor? That's supposed to be a non-political part of our system. It's not like we didn't know it was going to be terrible, and it is terrible. He really did have a judge arrested today. Arresting a judge today. Are you kidding me?
And why was Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan arrested by the FBI? Now, this is the part of the story that Rachel Maddow failed to tell her audience. Let's hear from Attorney General Pam Bondi.
This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, beat the guy, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave, while a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
And Democrats, particularly the perpetually outraged Karens, are again obsessing about the I word, impeachment. Yes, these democracy-denying hysterics want to see the duly elected president impeached. Let's hear from this screeching banshee at a town hall imploring Democrat Senator Jon Ossoff to remove the president.
Why are there no calls for impeachment? This is unacceptable. I will not live in an authoritative country, and neither will any of these people. You can do more. I like you, and I will vote for you if you are brave and you do what we need. We need him impeached. We need him removed.
We need him removed? Sounds a little insurrection-y to me, lady. They want him removed. They don't care what for. And listen here to Senator Ossoff's response. He gives the game away here. The Democrats don't care why either. They will try to impeach Donald Trump as soon as they have the numbers.
I agree with you. But as I said at the beginning, I also have no choice but to be candid with you about the situation that we face and the tools that are at our disposal. As strongly as I agree with you, ma'am. And I regret if this is an unwelcome response, but my job is to be honest with you. The only way to achieve what you want to achieve is to have a majority in the United States House of Representatives.
Well, the shrill Karen should start celebrating because some Democrats are listening to her. Here is a Democrat you've never heard of before, but he wants to be famous. Meet Congressman Sri Thandadar from the great state of Michigan.
Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it.
Yes, he wants to impeach Donald Trump for not bringing back a gangbanger. gangbanger who was in the country illegally. What a winning issue for the Democrats. Yes, I'm sure Donald Trump is terrified at this latest sham impeachment plan and just as terrified of this dude.
About the current issues, people are frustrated, people are angry, people are fearful about what's happening with the cuts in Washington, D.C., the tariffs.
As I'm sure this latest impeachment move is going to work a treat. They must really be eager for President J.D. Vance. Guys, just wait 3.5 years and you'll get it. Now, here is something so absurd that you assume it must be a work of satire. It must be.
Take a look at this actress playing Anne Frank. And this one, and this one, and this one. What do all of these actors have in common? They're all white. Over the years, our world has been getting more and more diverse, but our Holocaust narratives have not been able to keep up. Until now! I've created a new musical called Slam Frank that combines hip-hop, spoken word poetry, and mucho diversity so that we can have a version of this story that is prescient and relevant to future generations.
What can I say? Sadly, this musical actually exists. It's called Slam Frank, a satirical reimagining of Anne Frank's story. And it will be in theatres, folks. Fittingly, it will be at the Asylum in New York in June. Talking about asylums, let's check in with this young lass who seems to think that there's no difference between a fetus and a cyst. She's my favourite idiot of the week.
Abortion is anything. If I had a cyst on my uterus, that would be considered an abortion. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Look at, okay, anything that is involving the uterus.
Well, no, in order for it to be an abortion, it must be a human life.
No, anything that is
Yes.
involving the uterus and you have to get rid of it, it is considered abortion.
Now, President Donald Trump has celebrated the 2025 Super Bowl champions at the White House with the Philadelphia Eagles in attendance. The team and the president were in great spirits. This is quite a departure from 2018 when President Trump cancelled the celebration for the Eagles after he was advised that most players were not planning to show up. Well, what a difference 7 years makes.
Let me just say, fly, Eagles, fly, right?
The players presented the president with his own jersey and they even got a tour of the Oval Office with the players lining up to shake the president's hand. And Trump was certainly in good spirits. He was reminiscing about the Super Bowl and even had a little dig at Taylor Swift.
It was an incredible game, a little surprising, but right from the beginning, in the first quarter of the big game, which I was there, I watched in person. I was there along with Taylor Swift. How did that work out? How did that one work out?
I'll remind you how that worked out. One of them got massive cheers and the other one got booed. Good times. Now, there were 3 players missing from the White House celebrations. They blamed scheduling issues, like they have something better to do. One of those players, Jalen Hurts, had this pitiful response last week when asked whether he was going to be there.
Are you planning on visiting the White House next week?
Got it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, beautifully articulated. They're so eloquent, so brave. Meanwhile, your teammates are there hobnobbing with the president and they're taking iconic selfies with his portrait. That looks like Elias Ricks there, and he declared his love for Ivanka after the White House visit. He posted this. He said, after seeing her in person, Ivanka is exactly my type. Good luck there. Donald Trump was giving a speech in Michigan to mark the first 100 days of his second term when a leftie losing it last decided to make a monumental fool of herself. Now, watch here as the president tries to figure out whether this leftie is male or female.
What's the problem over there? What's the problem? Is that a radical left lunatic? He's just a child. All right, get him out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought it was a guy. Thank you. And she now has to go home to a mother who's a big Trump fan. Her mother's watching. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said he, and it's a she. I'm sorry.
Oh yes, it can be hard to work out whether some of these radical left lunatic non-binary folk are male or female. And talking about LGBTQIA++ community, here is a trans woman, also known as a man identifying as a woman, who fled to the UK, but it hasn't worked out well.
I decided to come to the United Kingdom, which has been a huge mistake, I must say. Not only the April 16th law that passed invalidating trans people's genders, tensions shift very quickly when laws change. And I've found myself not welcome in places I was welcome just on my initial arrival here very quickly. It's been quite terrifying.
Now, sticking to the UK, you may have missed this, but there was a little miracle. The leftist British PM Keir Starmer, who not long ago claimed that some women have penises, well, he somehow, at the tender age of 62, worked out what a woman is. Bless.
Do you believe a trans woman is a woman?
Look, I think the Supreme Court has answered that question.
So you don't believe a trans woman is a woman?
Look, a woman is an adult female, and the Court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say.
Now, I have missed historically illiterate hysteric Joy-Ann Reid since she was sacked by MSNBC, but thankfully she's still producing content like this, where she claims voting for Republicans will lead to civilizational death. And the example she uses couldn't be more wrong.
If you take that away and try to distill us just down to white folks, we'll be like Europe, an aging, slowly dying former empire. The Roman Empire didn't survive because it didn't have enough strength in its diversity. It suppressed its diversity and it died. If the U.S. wants to be the Roman Empire, keep voting the way you're voting, y'all.
You know, Joy's mad fever dreams about Trump and white supremacy seem to impact her entire worldview, but you can't change history, Joy. Well before the fall of the Roman Empire, the emperor granted full Roman citizenship to all free men within the empire, changing the entire scope of citizenship to be far more inclusive. Facts are our friends. Now, let's check in with former First Lady Michelle Obama, who must be among the unhappiest women in America. She is full of self-pity. She's full of disdain for the country that gave her so much and full of fears that are frankly hysterical.
In this current climate, for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants. So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. I do still worry about my daughters in the world, even though they are somewhat recognizable. So my fears are for what I know is happening out there in streets all over the city. And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't.
Indiscriminately? Really, Michelle? You have to be in the country illegally. You have to have broken the law to be in the country illegally to be a candidate for deportation. Kind of an important point, but miserable Michelle wasn't done yet. She really does seem like the unhappiest person in America, even with the 4-car motorcade.
And knowing that there's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices, I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. it keeps me up at night. And I know that and I see that when I'm driving around LA. I'm just looking in the faces of folks who could be victim, and I'm wondering, how are you feeling? How do you feel standing on the bus stop? How do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school, when you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second?
Incredible stuff. Funnily enough, Michelle wasn't too worried when her husband, the man who got the nickname Deporter-in-Chief, she wasn't too worried when he was in the White House and responsible for deporting millions. That didn't keep her up at night. Let's give Michelle a little reminder.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country. So that's why we need to start by giving agencies charged with border security new technology, new facilities, and more people to stop, process, and deport illegal immigrants.
That's how Barack used to campaign, and when he was in office, he was deporting millions. He even talked about targeting businesses that gave employment to illegal immigrants. I don't think this kept Michelle up at night either.
We all agree on the need to better secure the border and to punish employers who choose to hire illegal immigrants. We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law.
And this is genuinely amusing. Listen here as the worst vice presidential candidate ever, Tampon Tim Walz, you remember him, the man famous for putting tampons in boys' bathrooms across his state. Well, he's revealed that he was selected by Kamala Harris because he could code talk to white dudes. Really, white dudes watching football and fixing their trucks were going to vote for this.
I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this.
Yeah, this guy is the Democrats' idea of masculinity. Yes, this dude. Yes, that's a picture of strength and masculinity. Just look at how well he loads a gun.
That's my theory. And it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Now let's check in with the latest thing to be listed as inherently racist. You'll recall that everything from the countryside to working out has been labelled a sign of white supremacy. And now you can add to that list punctuality. Yes, being on time is white supremacy.
Being on time is white supremacy because what are they always on time to do? Oppress. I'm always going to be 10 to 15 minutes late because that's the correct time according to my people.
Now to the corrupt corporate media. President Donald Trump sat down for an interview with ABC's Terry Moran to discuss the first 100 days of his second term. Now, for the record, Terry Moran, you may never have heard of him, is a classic lefty losing it, and he went about proving that straight away. He seems to think the billions in waste and fraud uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency will result in no investigations or criminal referrals. Listen to how he frames this question.
We found a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraud. Fraudulent things were taking place, and we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because of it.
A legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any.
Well, you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been referrals to the? Are there criminal referrals?
How would you know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally are. There's been no investigation from the Justice Department.
How do you know that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
now
asking
I'm asking
me.
you.
That was a statement that you made. There had been.
I'm asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
Donald Trump wasn't putting up with that sort of nonsense. This was his response when asked whether he trusted Vladimir Putin.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
and
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
No, I am not.
And you might be wondering why President Trump selected this particular ABC clown for an interview. Well, the president addressed that question.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry.
He really is wonderfully droll, and he did not miss the opportunity to remind the ABC and other media that they were complicit in the cover-up about Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline.
We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
And let's not forget, it was only a few months ago that ABC gave President Trump an enormous payout to settle a defamation case. They never learn.